Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome from the Millpark Business School team and some of our illustrious alumni. I'm going to ask Frikkie, our director, to quickly welcome everybody.
Thank you very much, Zon. Yes, I joined the business school on the 5th of January this year. I'm looking forward to this info session because I'm also on a learning trajectory when it comes to what Millpark offers. But before we go over to that, I want to welcome all of you to this information session. And firstly, thank you for your interest in the PGDBA at Millpark Business School. With me today to present and to answer questions at the end of the session is my two colleagues, Shiraz, who is the convener of the MBA program, and then Zan, who's the convener of the PGDBA program. And then at the end, if there are some questions, our program manager, Mabatu, is with us to see whether there are some questions. We are also joined, as Zan has alluded to, by two of our alumni, Motsidise and Ahisha. So for the two of them, thank you very much. And without further ado, I hand over to Zan.
Thanks so much, Frikkie. And again, a warm welcome from my side. Just to make sure that everybody know that they are in the right place, Frikkie mentioned it, but you are at the information session for the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Administration. It's a very long name for a course, so we just colloquially call it the PGDBA, because otherwise we'll never get anything done. So my aim this afternoon and the aim of the team is to answer all those questions that you couldn't find on our website, because I'm sure if you've signed up for this info session, you probably would have visited the Millpark Business School website and you would have looked at the program. So I don't have a presentation per se. We'd much rather have a conversation with you and share what is at the heart of this program and why we think you should be joining our program this year. So what is a PGDBA? It is sort of in the middle, and sometimes people almost see it as the second cousin to the MBA, but by no means is it an inferior course. I myself did my postgrad a couple of years ago, and it's really for most of you who have completed your undergraduate, to go from an undergrad to a master's is a massive leap. And the education department actually recognized that that's a very difficult leap to make, which is why postgraduate diplomas were introduced a couple of years ago. So, in most undergraduate courses, you basically learn, it's just after you finish school, so you learn very structured, you learn factual knowledge, you learn topics, etc. Postgraduate research, of which a postgraduate diploma is the first step, is a different world, and it's an incredibly exciting world that we are very excited that you are interested in, because you are moving from sort of a doer to a doer and a thinker. You have to, the kind of skills that you need is different from just taking an undergraduate course. And in particular, if you are interested in a leadership journey from where you are now, the next best step is a postgraduate diploma, because it teaches you not only factual knowledge about certain courses, it also teaches you leadership skills. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the program overview so you can get a sense of the modules that we cover and talk about the motivation behind those modules as I share. Just want to make sure that I share my screen here. There we go. So that is the PGDBA in a nutshell. It runs over the course of a year. And I'm sort of looking at Arusha and Mochadisi. Can you believe you've done all of that in 1 year? Because it does feel a little bit intimidating when you look at the picture. But I can also, I'm sort of you're nodding your heads, that year flew past because the moment you hit the ground running, and you almost never stop until you finally take a breath at the end of the year. But it is absolutely all worth it. So the two modules in blue is what we call part of our foundational modules. Those are the modules that our PGDBA students do with our MBA students. Business Acumen Essentials, and Siraj, I'll give you a second just now, Siraj, to wade in. Siraj is actually the lecturer on Business Acumen Essentials. Well, that's a good reason to do the PGA just there. But then you've got leading an organization in context. I've got the credits on there. I've got the weeks. And then we've got leading an organization responsibly. Now, I don't know about you, Arusha and Mochadisi, but that's one of my favorite modules because the students get a chance to actually work with an MPO in the real world, come up with a project and present that project as part of their final assessments. We also have a module for business research, and that's really when your PGDA muscles start working, when you actually need to get into the whole research thing. And if you ever are considering an MBA, having this grounded module in research is incredibly valuable because by the time you do an MBA, you're going to have to do a dissertation. So this is why we put a business research module in our PGDBA. And then at the bottom is what we believe is a module that makes us different from a lot of other business schools when it comes to these kind of courses. And that's our Leadership for Managers course. And that is where you get the chance to change from the person you are when you start the module to the leader you want to be by the end of the module. It's only 5 credits, which is not a lot, but oh my, does that module forces you to think hard about yourself, about your leadership skills, about your communication, about conflict management, about your emotional intelligence. So it is really the module that pulls the whole course together. And then in blocks 3 and 4, which is the second half of the year, we've got a strategy module, strategic management principles, because all business ideas start at the strategy level. And then we've got another one of my favorite modules, which is design thinking and problem solving. For those of you that don't know anything about design thinking, please go and ask whatever tool you want, Google, chat, whatever. Design thinking is an absolutely fabulous tool. And if you do the PGDBA for one reason, that would be it, because it's really the kind of skills and the thinking and the collaboration that you get from that module is second to none. And then we also need to do a little bit of like hard work. So we've got financial management and we've got risk and governance. I mean, you need to be able to say you understand what's happening when someone pulls out a set of financials. You can't just pretend that you know which way is a debit and a credit. So those are the modules and the program in a nutshell. So before I ask our 2 alumni to contribute, I'm going to stop sharing because you don't need to look at that the whole time. I'm going to ask Siraj, who is our MBA convener, just to give a bit of his perspective, because he's been teaching on the PGDBA, so he knows the students. He also knows what the expectations are. So what else can they expect, Siraj?
Yeah, thanks. Firstly, welcome and thanks for being here, taking out your time on what is today, Wednesday evening. I think the cool thing about this, and remember, part of what we're doing today is why PGDBA, and the other part is why Milpark, right? And I don't know when we get to the why Milpark side of things, and maybe our alumni will help with that. But what you can expect is much more than online learning. So it's not what you imagine distance learning. We call it immersive online. It's so much more than online learning. And you get the convenience of being able to sit in your home and see it on screen, but you get the added advantage of the fact that you are in a classroom, you have syndicate members, you have teammates, you work together, and you have this much richer experience than anything else. The other thing is, is that what I have found, and as you mentioned, Zan, some of the modules are shared with the MBA and the PGDBA. And what I loved about the fact that we do this is that when we are in a classroom and we are in a session like this, we can't really identify the difference there between the PGDBA and the MBA when it comes to their contribution, their level of work. I found this year that I was blown away by the level of the PGDBA, where they quite often outdid the MBA students, both on their contribution in the engagement in class and also in their assessments and their hand-ins and their assignments. So I think what is really cool, and I'm so old, I did my MBA, and by the way, how do you know that someone has an MBA? They said it, but it took me 10 minutes, only 10 minutes before I told you I had an MBA. So I did my MBA before the PGDBA started, right? It was still, and now MBA was a 2.5-year module. That's 2.5-year program. And Frikkie was my lecturer, but that's besides the point. So, but and what we did there is that some of my classmates worked through this 2.5 years and ended up with nothing because they stumbled on the dissertation, and they actually then ended up with nothing. What's cool about this is you start the journey with the PGDBA, and after 1 year, you end with a full degree. You end with a postgraduate degree. That's the cool thing. These two ladies that you have here are going to walk across a stage in 2 months' time, and we're going to cap them, and they're going to be a postgraduate. And I think that's the cool thing, so that it's a manageable, bite-sized kind of degree that is a full, it's like a full person on its own. It's a full thing, but it's the gateway. If you do want to go on and study an MBA, then you're already in, because you take a lot of credits into your MBA, and your MBA becomes from 2 years to 1.5 years. So it's the last time I mentioned MBA. This is about the PGDBA. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, Siraj. You answered my question and more, which is exactly what we expect. So you mentioned immersive online, and I mean, if anyone follows Milpark on our social media feeds, you would have seen the mention of immersive online. But I'm going to now ask our two alumni who've experienced immersive online in the last year, and I'm just going to go alphabetically. I always do that because then it means I always go last. So Irisha, I want to ask you, can you perhaps just share with our audience 2 things? Let's start with your experience and why you think they should join us on the PGDBA journey.
Evening, everyone. So I will probably reflect on my year that I've done. I'm looking at the whole plan that you just gave, and it's one of the reasons why I actually chose Milpark, the whole online immersive thing. I didn't want to drive after work. I wanted to come home and I wanted to use technology and systems because that's where the whole world is going. And Milpark ticked that box for me. And the other reason was exactly what Siraj and you just alluded to now. There's MBA subjects. And I personally needed to find out if I was capable after quite some time of studying to know if I was going to make it. So with the business research subject, I'm just looking back now, and the design thinking, I'm actually feeling a lot more confident now taking that next step, because I didn't know about writing long pieces of work. I mean, Shidi will tell you, when we first started, we were like, how are we going to get through so many pages? We're just PGDBA students. But the nice thing is, with our teams, working with the syndicate groups, the lecturers were very helpful. It got us to that point. So I think for me, that's the 2 takeaways, that online, if you're looking for it, and if you also want to get a taste of what the MBA subjects are going to be like, and it gives you a bit of, I can do this. The tagline is, you got this, you can do this. And I actually felt it at the end of the year. So that's
awesome.
it for me. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Irisha. And I think, because so from a distance learning perspective, I'm going to get to you now, what you see is, So I think people often think when you are doing a course online, it's a very lonely journey. Because it's you and in fact, when I did my postgrad, it was a very lonely journey. And most of the time I felt like just me, myself, and I at my desk under the stairs. But Mutsidisi, did you feel lonely during your year?
Not at all, Van. I didn't feel lonely at all. Firstly, good afternoon or good evening to everyone. So I really didn't feel lonely at all. Just to add on what Arusha has said, apart from the immersive online learning, for me, I looked at the program, how the program is set up. And I'll give a little background story. So my intention was actually to do an MBA, to register for an MBA last year. And I got cold feet because I had not been studying for 14 years. And then I said, you know what, let me just dip one foot in the water and see how everything goes. To my surprise, I was actually doing 5 MBA modules. So might as well have just got all in, right? So I think for me, I looked at the program, how the program is set up, and we often turn out to be the experiences that we encounter in life, and some may not be so great, and some may be, so great that they shape us into better human beings, into better leaders. So I think for me, um, it was almost like a healing journey for me in terms of, I think Zanu mentioned Elman, as one of the modules that it's a distinct subject when compared to all the other institutions. The reflections on a weekly basis, I think for me, those are the highlight because it was almost as though I'm going through a journey of healing as well as learning, unlearning and relearning as well for me, and shaping me into a better leader that I want to become. And at first I thought, but why are we doing this module? But I must say, when I carried on with the reflections, I really got to enjoy it, and I saw the benefits as well in my daily life, and I think how I carry myself, how I now respond to certain situations. And I think for me, that's a very valuable thing, because not only did I grow from a professional perspective, but I also grew from a personal perspective in which I can also apply that in my everyday life with, everyday people, my family, my friends, everyone. It's not just about work. And I think one of the modules, I must say, we complained about it because it's really group intensive and it's got such a lot of work, but design thinking, it has also helped me to think of new ways to actually better my output from a work perspective. So I'm in finance, finance spreadsheets, PowerPoints, and we usually straight to the point, and really we keep it clean, we keep it crisp. So we decide actually from a finance perspective what we think our end users would like. So from a design thinking perspective, I actually got to learn that that is not always the case. It's important to understand what your people would actually like to see, and also presenting your stuff in a better way. So I think, look, if you guys are looking for a journey where you're not just going to improve yourselves from a professional perspective, but you're also looking to grow holistically, I believe that the PGDBA MOPAC program is really the one to choose. You're not just going to learn the technical stuff, but you you really learn lifelong, lessons, and sort of, what can I say, equipments really, to help you navigate life. So without talking too much, thank you very much. That's me.
Thanks so
Zan,
much.
can I jump in there quickly?
Please
Just
do.
because it's my style. But I wanted to just touch on something that Mutsudishi mentioned, and that's that we often have quite a lot of finance people in our business school, only because Molpark as an education institution has got a lot of finance modules, and people come from there, they enjoy it, and they come and do some more with us. And the thing with your postgraduate studies like a PGDBA, for finance, there is a right answer in the bottom right-hand corner of the Excel spreadsheet, right?
Sure.
We go there and we go, what is that answer correct? Lekker, all good. But what we try and do with the PGDBA is to play in that ambiguity, that gray area, because there isn't a right answer sometimes. Sometimes within leadership, there is this ambiguity of it's not black and it's not white, it's somewhere in between. And that's the uncomfortable area that you start to play in when you're a finance person, Mutsudishi. I'm sure that
100%.
you didn't necessarily enjoy that, because it's like, what do you mean there isn't a real answer here? And I feel that those are the kind of reasons why you do something like this, is because it is going to challenge you. It's going to make you uncomfortable. And everyone that I've spoken to, and I say it often, is that we are comfortable making you uncomfortable, because that's where you learn. You learn in that area just outside your comfort zone. And the fact that everyone is here in this room now shows that they're already interested. They've taken that first step. Sorry, Zon.
No, all good. Thank you very much, Mutsudishi and Arisha. So just what I thought would be most helpful, but before I get to that, I see we've got questions, so I need to navigate all my screens, because I've got so if I'm looking like I'm looking in strange places, because I'm trying to see around my screen. So firstly, we had some questions from the audience. The first question was, do the modules get done consecutively or at the same time in a semester? So like, do we do block 1 and 2? And for some bizarre reason, Tasneem, my screen has disappeared with the blocks on it. If you can maybe just quickly pop it out again. I know you've got a backup copy somewhere lurking with you. So yes, so the sequence of the blocks that you see, I don't know, yeah, Tasneem is going to just grab it for us again. That sequence is exactly the sequence in which you do the course. So block 1 will start now on the 10th of February, and it ends sort of by April-ish, and then block 2 starts, and then block 3 starts in July, and then it runs to the end of the year. So yes, there are modules that run at the same time, and that's where the juggling comes in. We try really hard to space the assessments and space the live interactive sessions, so that you don't have, we try that you don't have 2 big assessments on the same day, or even in the same week. But it is kind of a tricky thing, and sometimes part of the skills, is just juggling between multiple priorities, which is pretty much what work life is all about in any case. So there we go. Thanks, Tasneem. So yes, so block 1, we start with, when you start on the 10th of February, you start with Business Acumen Essentials, Leading an Organization Responsibly, and Business Research for Managers. Now, I know I made the Leadership for Managers the same size just because I wanted you to see it and read it, but it is only 5 credits. So there are no live sessions for it. It's basically reflections every week and working through a bit of content. So load-wise, it is not the fact that the little blocky is the same color is maybe a misnomer. In terms of load, the actual work sits in the modules like Business Acumen Essentials and LDRS. There was another question about group work. Now, the question is, in case you are not really great at good group work. So I want to be a little bit facetious and say, well, maybe this is your opportunity to get better at group work, because we all end up in a real life working situation having to work with people. So group work is absolutely part of the course, and but it's not all. So we again try and spread the work and the assessments between both individual work, because you need to show as an individual that you have not mastered, but that you have absorbed and internalized the content. So there are individual assessments, assignments throughout the course. But we do have group work, because in 2026, that is the name of the game: collaboration, co-opetition rather than competition. Working with people is an absolute essential skill for any manager or leader. So, and it's not easy. I mean, like, by no means am I going to pretend that it's easy. I'm going to get to you now, Mitchell. So just to be more specific, leading an organization responsibly has a group work project at the end of it, and so does design thinking and problem solving. So those two modules rely heavily on group work, while the other modules, you sort of have to battle through some of the content yourself. You wanted to add something, Motsidisi?
Yes, I did, Zan, because at first you don't like group work, but as time goes on, you really realize the importance of it. For instance, with me, I used to complain to my team members that, look, I don't like doing this. I don't like doing this. I'm not so good at PowerPoint. I'm not such a person, but I must say that my team really challenged me, and I'm quite happy that they did. I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I actually got to learn new skills, and I'm using those skills now in my everyday work.
Arisha, you want to add something?
Yeah, I do. So just to share with the team, Shidi and I were in the same group, luckily, for the whole of last year. So I do know what she's referring to, because there was a time where we all went like, you're going to do this. You're going to get stuck in and you're going to help us. And also, we also found, by giving everyone a turn to different things, and Shidi, you'll agree, we found some real gems within our team. And that's when it's quite nice. Sometimes you think, oh, it's group work, but you learn so much from other people. We had people from different departments, different areas, different fields, and once we combined our group, I think we worked quite well to the very end. So be open to that. That's all I'm going to say to the new teams who are coming in. You grow more when you learn from the rest of your group.
Thank you so much for that perspective. And I think you alluded to something, Risha, which is one of the things that when you do a postgraduate degree like this, you realize the value of other people's perspective. I mean, if that's one of those key takeaways. In fact, very few places in life, only one perspective will get you anywhere. It's actually when we come together and everyone brings their skills and their experience and their personal perspectives that we really actually come up with better solutions, not only for ourselves, for our organizations, and hopefully for society. I see there's another question. I feel like I'm driving a spaceship today. What's the most common reason students struggle or fail in the PGDBA? That's an interesting question. I think it doesn't happen that often, but I think anyone studying and working that don't have the support at home will probably struggle. So not necessarily. So because I think that's something that's worth mentioning, is that yes, you are the one signing up for the course, but there is someone. Most of us have families and other people that depend on us at home, and so it's really important that you have their support as well, because they're the ones that will have to understand that you won't be able to necessarily spend every evening with them. If you have a partner that says, well, I haven't been to the movies in people still go to the movies, I don't even know. But you don't have time. That really is, I think, one of the big swing points about whether someone makes it. It's actually not your commitment. It's the people around you, if you have their support. And and work as well. I mean, if you have an understanding boss at work, that helps as well. So if you have those things in place, then there is no reason why you can't pass the PGDBA. So Raj, you wanted to add something? I don't know why you put your hand up.
Just I'm trying to behave. And just one of our values at Molpark is caring. And again, and our payoff line is you've got this, we've got you. And Mabatu, who we mentioned, is in the room and might be able to answer your question. She's our program manager, and she literally is there as your point of contact. And if things are not working out and you're struggling, you're not only going to realize it at the end when you're failing. We are there, we are tracking you, we can literally monitor to see if you are how much time are you engaging with the content, and we flag you early on. And if you're not engaging with the content enough, we'll reach out to you and say, hey, is everything okay? Are you good? Do you need help? What's happening? So there is a support structure around you. Besides your teammates, we at Molpark also kind of buy into it. And then to add my bit into why people fail, one of the reasons I think is at a school level and at an undergraduate level, you can cram at the end. You can say, oh man, I'm going to be busy, but I'm going to take 3 days leave and I'm going to cram right near the end. You can't do that with you. And Arusha and Mitsudishi are smiling and nodding, is because you can't leave it and hope to cram at the end. You need this consistent work ethic, because there's content. And if you miss that content, there's going to be more content. And then there's a reflection and a chat and a little assessment you have to do. So one of the reasons why people fail, in my opinion, is they leave it too long. They ignore us kind of reaching out to help out and everything else. And then they think they can catch up at the end.
Ricky, you want to add to that?
Yes, I need to. Thank you, Zon and Shiraz. Now, based on my 30-odd year experience in academia, I think there's a aspect that precedes answering the question of why or why can people fail. And I think I'm very proud to say at Molpark we have those things in place. But what is important to me is before you make that decision, you must decide whether it's the right time to embark on postgraduate studies. Speak to other people, get a mentor, speak to them. In many instances, it's not the right time, and then yes, unfortunately, there will be failure. So if you have decided, you're clear on what your planned journey for the next 7 to 10 years, even after that, is, enroll. Otherwise, stay away until you are ready. Thank you, Zan.
Thank you so much, Ricky. That is incredibly valuable. And you are quite right. Sometimes what happens is your employer tells you you've got to sign up, and they're like, and you feel you're doing it not because you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for someone else. And I think that's also a really important thing. If you're not doing it for yourself, if you're doing it because you want someone else's approval, then maybe think about it. So we have questions for Machisi. You wanted to add something? Sorry, you had your hand up.
Yes, I think I wanted to add some of the golden nuggets to, managing the program and then ultimately winning. I think firstly, the way in which Molpark has set up the program is really quite nice, in a sense that you've got block 1, you've got block 2. So from block 1, you can already see, it's a really nice confidence booster when you see your marks. I looked forward to seeing my results for my assignments, and my overall module pass. So I looked forward to that. And before I actually embarked on this journey, I had a chat with my manager first to say, this is what I would like to do. And I got full support from him and from the team as well. And I also had a chat with my husband. I also have a son, so I had a chat with my husband to find out, is it the right time for us to do it? Because as Freaky mentioned, if it's not the right time, unfortunately, it's not the right time. So I had a chat with him and he said, no, let's go for it. Yes, it got tough, but with the right support, you can really do it. And more than anything, Zan, you also mentioned, you have to do it for you. If you're doing it for yourself, you really have that push. So I think you can do it. Set up those study timetables, look at your timetable, see how you can best fit everything, look at your work schedules as well, integrate everything into one. Don't neglect your family as well. Look at your family responsibilities. I've got my son goes for soccer every Saturday, and non-negotiable, I made sure that I attended those sessions. Even in my group, I told them, hey guys, from 8 till 10, I'm doing this. I don't mind joining from 7 up until 8, or we can do an earlier session or a later session. And if those sessions clashed, communication is also very vital. Communicate. Inform the team, guys, I'm not able to meet this, and this is my input. Even from a work perspective, in terms of whatever deliverables that you have, communicate. And I've actually noticed that it really, really helps. So communicate, plan. If the plan changes, there's nothing wrong. It happens, such as life, but make sure that you communicate. And I think, look, you got it. You can do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. Risha, I've got a question that came in. So maybe you can help us with this one. The audience wants to know, in terms of your time commitments in a week, what did that look like? Because I think that is sometimes one of the things that's a big unknown.
Yeah.
And it could be quite intimidating. So what did your week look like?
Oh, this is going to be a scary one. So I think my group knows. They used to. So I'm actually in operations. I'm not finance, firstly. So just putting it out there so everyone knows. I work 6:30 to 3:30. So I literally have a very early start to my day. But in a week, my studies, I was committing more than 24 hours in a week on my modules, but I was very disciplined and I was very structured. I think everyone on my team knew that about me. I was like, this has to get done. I already had plans. So it depends. We had a person in our group who preferred working in the mornings, so he did his time then. I preferred working the hours that I was working on it, but roughly that worked for me. But that's just me. Some people go at the pace that you're at, but basically that was my take on it. But the only thing I can share is, if you're committing to do 2 hours that day or planning to do 10 hours in that week, stick to it. Because once you drop that, you have a lot to catch up on. Then you're giving away those mornings like Shidi was mentioning, and other plans start shifting around. So stay to your commitment, keep the focus, keep that momentum going, because that's what keeps you going. And lean on the teams that you have, your support base at home. Also, agree upfront on those hours. I did that for my family because it was also tough taking that much, no evenings or doing things differently. But that's just my, I'm a bit of a bookworm, so I quite enjoy the studying bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Risha. And I can also just say, because I only found this out, I think, after I did my postgrad, that we have something called notional hours in any program. So if you do look at the block again, I'm not going to put the slide up, but if you look at our fact sheet, etc., if you see a module that is 10 credits, basically what that means is 10 times 10. To pass that module, you need to spend more or less, it's like doing the park run. Not all of us can do it in 16 minutes, but 10 credits equals 100 notional hours. 25 credits equals 25 notional hours, 250. So that's just a rule of thumb, to get a sense of what you can expect per module, because not all modules are created equally. I see Tasneem. Yes, absolutely, Tasneem. No sacrifice, no reward. So Tasneem, we have 20 minutes left of our conversation. Oh, very long question. Wow. So, Siraj, well,
What-
you chip in.
I'll
I'm going
talk
to read the long
while
question.
you read that long question. Good. Two things. And I'm conscious Nadia asked the follow-up question about the group work, about the actual percentage of group work. I would say it's about 15 to 20%. Am I right, Zan? 15 to 20% of group work versus individual?
Depends on the module. So overall on the qualification, perhaps, but in design thinking and learning own organization responsibly,
It's a little bit more.
It's higher. So it's a little bit less, for example, in financial management.
Yeah. Then the other question, there was another small question, which is a student is in Lesotho, and perfect, we can help you out and you can dial in from anywhere. We have a student that sits in Uzbekistan, another one in Saudi Arabia, and that's the beauty of having things that you can dial in from a distance. Yeah, and then lastly, Arusha mentioned she's a bookworm. She likes to consume. We very consciously put together content in different modes, right? It's not all reading. So again, old school, you used to get these massive textbooks and you had to, I remember my first few textbooks, I fell asleep after the first 2 pages. I was just like, poof, I was nodding off. There's a nice balance of videos, podcasts, then there are small articles. So it's not also all academic articles. We link to very recent and very articles in the newspaper and LinkedIn. There's a mix of this so that if you aren't someone who reads and who loves to read, then don't be scared of it. Again, there are other things. And secondly, but having said that, reading is like a muscle. You need to flex it. The more you flex it, the stronger you get. The more you read, the easier reading becomes. But it's not all reading. So those are a few other points I wanted to say.
Awesome, thank you, Siraj. I did manage to get through the question. The question is about the flexibility around assessments and how suitable the course is for people that travel. In short, it is incredibly flexible from the point of view that you don't ever have to come into an exam room to write an exam or to complete an assessment. You will always do it online. So that's the first thing I can say. Then in terms of flexibility, there is a deadline and it's usually 23:59. I don't know. I was one of those terrible 23:55 students in my day. Don't be that student. But there is a deadline. So if you are traveling and you know that that deadline is going to be a problem for an assignment, then you'll have to plan to do it earlier. So so that's on assignments. Then on tests and exams, they work slightly differently. So a test, which is a formative assessment that takes place during the academic work, is usually open for about 4 or 5 days. So again, if you're traveling, you don't want to do it, you know where you're going to be, you can do it any one of those 4 or 5 days. But the moment you start that test, you have to finish it. So make sure you have the time set available. Exam is slightly different. Again, there is a window, but it is only 1 day. So that's the only time, that's probably the only time that you are boxed into sort of a time frame from an assessment perspective. But again, at some point in the day. But we don't have that many exams. I can also just say that overall, mostly assignments. We have a few exams here and there, but mostly assignments. What is more important, and I'll be with you now, Siraj, is that that you make sure that you have if you are traveling, that you do have a connection to attend the live interactive sessions, because that is really where all the reading and the watching and the listening and the practicing comes together. So if you can travel and also have a reliable internet connection so you can attend the live interactive sessions, then it will work for you. If you are going to be in the middle of the Kalahari and Starlink is not working yet, and you know you're going to be away for 3 months, then you might have a problem. Siraj, you want to please add to that?
Just the fact that nothing's going to creep up on you as a surprise. You're going to know weeks in advance when your assessments are, and then you can be flexible around your tests, right? And sorry, around your traveling. So unless it is a very last minute emergency travel that you think that you needed to do, you should be able to plan around it, because right at the start of the module, you'll know I have a hand in then, I have a hand in then, and I have a test in that window. And you can work away around it 8 weeks, 10 weeks ahead of time. Yeah.
But having said that, I think, and especially when there's group work involved, that's, I mean, and Mutadisi, you had the magic word there, communication, because that, if you disappear, you start ghosting your team members, you're going to be very unpopular. So just make sure that, yeah, so if you do need to be flexible around that make sure that your team members also know where you are, not only do your own planning. We've got about 15 minutes left of our webinar. I'm very glad to see we've still got 27 people online. I'm happy, Tasneem, if we want to open the channels and the attendees can actually ask. There we go. You can raise your hand if you want to, like your mic enabled, and then you can actually just ask us. It's like a quick fire session. Now you can just ask anyone. You don't have to go through me.
And it also gives you a bit of a feeling of what a class might be like, right? Because this is exactly it. Why did I know Nadia was going to ask a question? Nice. Let's hear your voice, Nadia.
Because I'm seriously stressed about this group work, guys. Like, I understand that we all work with people all the time. But like, how does it work in terms of, so you get a group and then you submit an assessment or an assignment, and then everybody gets like a shared mark from the submission. Is that what group work is? I'm freaking out about group work.
Even more reason to do this, but I'll let Mutsudishi will answer. Yeah.
So Nadia, not everything is group work, right? So for instance, in terms, you have modules that are group work intensive, but the nice thing is when you start the program, you get allocated group members, right? The nice thing is you don't get to change your members. So the first group activity that we had to do was to do a chatter, like a group chatter for our business acumen module. In that session, we really got to get to know each other, right? And there was 6 of us in a group, and 2 of our members were introverts, so they didn't prefer to talk much. And with that said, you learn how to work around that. So when we're busy with the group work, then we will ask, hey, so and so, I'm using just a name, Lerato. Is there anything that you'd like to add onto the chat, right? So because she might not feel comfortable talking about it, she'll type it out. And we actually get really good input from them. So it's really important. I think the first thing is to know the people that you are with in a group. Compromise is very important as well, because, for instance, in terms of some activities, we could not have everyone in the session, and it's okay to not have everyone in the session, but make sure that everyone gives their input, right? And it's important to understand, in as much as you might not be able to make it for a session, the next person might not be able. So compromise is very important. And it's also important to ensure that even though, you trying to be understanding, it's also important to be firm. We worked very well as a team, but it had not always been that way. There's a time when we had to call out some people and say, hey, you've been doing this, we don't like it, and you need to make sure that you improve. Like, for instance, there's one person, there's people in our team, or one person that gave us input that was very AI heavy, and we had to call them out to say, this is unacceptable, because once you put it out there, it's not just that person, and you can't now say, actually, it's Mutsidisi who gave us this input. No, it's the group that gave the input. So everyone is responsible to make sure that you check. So I think it's very important to find balance. I think it's important to understand. Once you understand your look, it's gold. It's gold. You really set up for greatness. I think that's what I can share honestly, to try and calm you a little bit, calm the nerves down a bit in terms of the work part.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Mutsidisi.
I also think that group work is a simulation of real life. Very rarely, unless we are entrepreneurs that make little tea cozies for small German shepherds, then you could well be that. Then you sit there by yourself. But most of the time, you actually rely on a network of people around you. And the reason why we do this is to put you into that scenario. And again, get uncomfortable if people aren't delivering their bit. How do I address them? There's so much learning that happens outside of the assessment. And this is another like truism throughout your postgraduate studies. The real learning happens in between the assessments, not the assessments themselves. And this group work thing is a vital part of that, where you're learning the skills to coerce in a positive way your teammates to help you achieve a goal that is going to benefit you and the team. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Nadia, does that make you feel a little bit better?
No, there's no emoji for this face, so you might as
You
well
put your
see.
camera on. Lovely. That's it. I mean, the fact that you had the confidence to put your mic on and the camera on tells me you're going to have zero problem with your group work. Don't trust us on this one. You're going to be just fine.
Well, the other thing that I also can say, and again, it depends on the group itself, but I mean, I'm really glad that we're doing this kind of thing in 2026 when technology makes group work so much easier. I mean, when I did my postgrad, we had to literally physically meet at the university to be able to do our little thinking. That's the pre-Zoom era. But now with technology, with Teams, with WhatsApp, with cloud-based applications, it's definitely easier to get together. I mean, you also need to know where your boundaries are. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but it is definitely easier to collaborate. I mean, that's what these collaboration tools are all about. Anyone else? I'm just sort of telling you also, I'm sure, looking out for any hands. Anyone else that wanted to ask us any questions? I don't see anyone specifically. So while you guys are still thinking, quick question, Arisha. One golden nugget, Larice, I'll get to you now. So Arisha, you can think about it while we get Larice's question. Yes, Larice.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Hi, everybody. So, when we started the session with CDC, spoke about how this has been a healing journey for her. And I asked myself, okay, so healing on what? Like, it's studies. So what could you possibly be healing from? Until Nadia started talking about the whole group work, and I realized, so when I finished my matric 20 years ago, I swore I would never attend face-to-face classes again. I'd always go for distance learning. So I guess this is going to be a healing journey to be in a class again 20 years later. So I just wanted to share that feedback to say, you know, Nadia, you're not the only one, and right now I'm freaking out. But anyway, I'll get to it, and yeah, looking forward to the journey.
So that is so lovely to hear, Louise. So, and I mean, I can also share that from my postgraduate journey. I mean, I also said I was never going to study again. I also had post-traumatic stress from my undergraduate studies, I think. But I can definitely say the transformation that you go through in a postgraduate is second to none. I can also just I know exactly what you're talking about. So I've got 1 minute each, Risha and Mochidisi, not more than that. What is your one golden nugget for success in the program? So we'll start again, Arisha, because I picked on you first. So
Yeah. So for me, it's just mindset, guys. Keep that mindset. Believe in yourself. That mindset of I'm gonna get this done. I've been where you guys were. I actually, if you ask me about you, I registered really late last year, and I was doubting myself. And I'm not doubting myself anymore for this year. So it's mindset. You can do this. Okay. You're taking the first step.
Apart from mindset, which is what I fully agree with Arusha, you got this, you can do this. Planning, communication, those are the two that I can say. You know, communicate with your community around you and make sure that you plan accordingly. You've got this, you can do this. Wishing you guys all the best.
Well, thank you so much. So unless I'll keep an eye out to see if there's any other questions. What I would like to end with, and at some point, I'm sure when you get to your strategy module, we'll talk, they talk about vision and mission and all those things. And I'm sure somewhere along the line, there must be a video of Simon Sinek talking about a why. But for me, and this is a personal reflection as an employee of Moorpark, it's really important that you find yourself in an environment where you identify with the values and the purpose of the organization that you are working for. So when we at Moorpark say things, we don't just put it on the wall. Well, we actually do have it on the wall, but they don't stay on the wall. It really becomes part of who we are as the people working there, and we also want it to. So I'm going to share my slide quickly, and I'm going to share the Moorpark purpose because it resonates with me, and this is why I'm here and why Siraj and Frikkie are here. But I think it's important that you know that. So let me quickly share my screen. So I'm going to just read it to you. It says, our purpose at Moorpark is that we believe we can enable people to become more than they dared imagine, unlocking their potential to help shape our collective future. So that's why we are here. We really, in our heart of hearts, believe that somewhere in this journey, we're going to unlock something in you that you didn't even imagine you could be. So that's the challenge, and that's my final 5 words of wisdom for the day. Unless there's any questions, I am absolutely looking forward to see all of you in the induction. Our induction is on the 5th of February for the PGDBA. The classes start online on the 10th of February. And in a year's time, we might have 1 or 2 of you as our honored guests in our postgrad information session. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you to Mochilisi and Arisha for taking the time to come and share your journey with us. Thank you, Mabatu and Siraj and Frikkie for also squeezing us into your day. And we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.